Hi everybody, it's Christopher and welcome to Life's Not Over, It Just Looks Different on YouTube. Earlier this week, I celebrated my 5-year anniversary working for CNIB, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And I thought I would spend a little time in this video looking back on the last 5 years and sharing some of the experiences that I've had in that time. My first job when I started working for CNIB back in 2016 was working in our retail shop that we had in our building. And what I really liked about that, aside from learning myself just some of the really cool tools and things that were out there, like talking watches, talking clocks, talking calculators, all these kind of things that people with sight loss could use, I also enjoyed being people's first point of contact sometimes when they walked in our building and maybe they had just come from their eye doctor's office where they were given a diagnosis of macular degeneration or glaucoma, and their eye doctor suggested, well, you should go down to CNIB and see what they can do for you. So some people were walking in there for the very first time, and they would walk into the shop because it was very close to the front entrance. And then myself and my colleague, who also had sight loss, we were there moving around and doing things and rearranging the store and interacting with people, and able to demonstrate that life goes on despite sight loss. There was one in particular that I remember. There was a lady came in with her elderly mother, and as we were talking and exchanging a few pleasantries, I said, well, I am a person with sight loss. As the conversation progressed, I was going around in the room grabbing different products to show them and bringing them over and showing them to them. And then the daughter stopped me and she said, "You do not have sight loss." And I said, "Well, actually I do. I just know my environment really well." So that was kind of a fun experience that happened more than once in my 14 or 15 months that I spent working in the retail shop. Later, I took on the role of community education, the role that I'm in now, and doing that for the last 3.5 years has been a fantastic experience, being able to go to schools and seniors' homes, wellness fairs, corporate events, wherever people want me to go to talk about sight loss and talk about CNIB and our partner agency, Vision Loss Rehabilitation Canada, and the wonderful work that all of the people do. I always joke that they're the ones who do all the great work. I'm just the guy out there talking about it. And I have a lot of fun talking about it because, as I think I've shared in previous videos, one of the reasons I really like being at CNIB is that they were so helpful to me when I first lost my own vision back in 2005, that being in the role that I'm in now and being able to be in the community and talk about the fabulous work that my teammates do, I feel like I'm paying it forward. I feel like I'm able to show people that it's because of CNIB that I am the person I am today, able to be out there in the community doing these things and having a great life. One of the stories that I like to share in my presentations and make a little bit of fun with the misunderstanding about the name CNIB is, especially even with my own friends, when I first told them I was getting a job at CNIB, they said, "Oh, you're going back into banking," because they were confusing it with CIBC, which is one of Canada's big 5 banks. And so I started having some fun with that in my presentations, saying that there's a really big difference between them and us, that CIBC as a bank is over here making a whole lot of money, and then there's CNIB over here as a nonprofit needing a whole lot more money. And it's been a lot of fun because when I go to schools, very often I talk to grade 1 kids who are just learning about the 5 senses. And then so once they've learned about eyesight, their teachers often bring me in to talk about what happens when you don't have sight. And sometimes I've talked to older kids, junior high and high school. I remember once being in a high school, I was doing a volunteer fair that they had there. And so I had my table and this young guy came up and he said, "What's CNIB?" And so I told him, and then he said, "Well, do you hook people up with eye doctors?" I said, "Well, no, we don't really do that, but people often come to us after they've seen their eye doctor." And then this young guy leaned in and he proceeded to tell me that he has glaucoma and that he's losing his sight and he's not going to be able to drive, and he's not going to he's just going to have to live with this glaucoma. And so he wasn't really sure how that was going to work out. So he was really glad to learn about what I was there for, because it let him know that there were services out there for him as his sight loss progresses, as it likely will. So I felt really good about that experience and really enjoyed that. I also like being in seniors' homes because I'm talking to people who are, a lot of them are starting to experience age-related conditions that, like glaucoma, cataracts, macular degeneration, or diabetic retinopathy, that are all conditions that affect people as we get older and things start to break down. So it's nice to be out there to let them know that there is help, because maybe they thought because it was a service for the blind, as people often hear in our name, that they can't go to us. But I'm there to let them know that they can come to us as they're losing their sight and as it's progressing, so that they can learn to live with it as it goes. And they can learn skills and find different tools that can help them be productive, even though their sight loss is declining. I remember one in particular, a lady came up to me after my presentation, and she revealed to me that she had macular degeneration and it was failing her. Her eyes were failing her. But she said it was so nice to hear about these things from a person who gets it. And that made me feel so good. So these are the kind of things that I've been able to do in the last 5 years that I just absolutely love. I've been having so much fun doing it, and I'm not really sure what the future is going to hold and what sort of projects I can get involved in. I will say that one thing I do really want to spend more time doing is raising more awareness of cortical visual impairment, CVI, a condition that affects a lot of children, but also affects adults who've had things like strokes or other brain trauma and lose their sight. And cortical visual impairment is not something that is really well understood. So I'm going to be spending the next few years, as much as I'm allowed, to raise even more awareness of this and try to bring it more to light, so that eye care professionals know what they're dealing with when they have a patient with CVI, and maybe some programs and skill sets can be developed that can allow the people with CVI to try to regain what they can or make better use of what they have and get better use out of their functional vision, which is ultimately the goal. That is everything I wanted to share in today's video. I really thank you very much for watching today. I do appreciate each and every one of you who watches these videos. Thank you so much for doing so, and I hope you have a wonderful day.